Yeah, I'm with Sunset.
Okay, so you don't need any. Alrighty, I'm going to try to get the hum out of the mic here so that you all can hear our candidate well. I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Deborah Shern. I'm chairman of Marketing Works, and we're the campaign managers for Robert Wright Jones for Senate 2008. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping things. This should be a brief press conference in essence of our consideration of everyone's time. If anyone has to leave, feel free to do so at any point. Right outside of the door here to the right and shortly to your left and a quick left again. There are restrooms here. I want to make sure if anyone's on the street or anything as far as, I don't think there's any meters out there, but there's a parking lot, so just be mindful if you are on a meter. I don't want this to be a bad experience. Go to the lot, okay? At this time, we're going to make our press conference official, and I take great honor in introducing to you our next Senator, Robin Wright Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning for joining me in this press statement today. I'm going to make a few comments, some of which have to do with why I've chosen to do what I'm doing, and some other information I think will be helpful in the next legislative year. For the past 100 years, the Democratic Party has been at the forefront of many key legislative programs that have increased the quality of life for our American citizens. In 1912, Woodrow Wilson passed the first labor and child welfare laws. In 1932, Franklin Delano Roosevelt brought the country out of the Great Depression with the Tennessee Valley Authority Program, with the Works Progress Administration, and with the Social Security Administration. From 1953 through 1960, the Democratic Party controlled Congress, and as a result, the first civil rights legislation was passed. In the mid-60s, President Johnson established the Great Society program, which was aimed at eliminating poverty and racial injustice. And he did that through focus on education, urban issues, medical care, and transportation. As a result of that, we had the war on poverty, we had the establishment of Medicare, we had the establishment of Medicaid, we also had the Monumental Civil Rights Act. Under President Clinton's administration, there was the establishment of the Violence Against Women's Act. As a result of that, domestic abuse came to the forefront. He also established the Family and Medical Leave Act, which of course offers job protection and unpaid leave to families who need to be home in a crisis. He also established the Motor Voter Act, which established access to voter registration. We saw reform in student loan requirements, which allowed our citizens more access to higher education. These democratic milestones in uplifting the people of this country had a great impact on me as a young woman. And at that point, some 39 years ago, I became active in my community, in community agencies, as well as in the political life of this city. Those are the basis on which I stand as I announce my candidacy for the 5th Senatorial District for the state of Missouri. Most of these milestones that you've just heard are currently under siege, and the rights and entitlements that come with them are beginning to be dismantled. I think it's very important for me to continue my work in the General Assembly to help stem the tide of the erosion of those rights and entitlements. I've chosen this facility to launch my campaign. It is a senior citizen facility. It is a beautiful facility. It is a product of the work of Mount Zion Baptist Church. Reverend Jones was unable to be with us today due to a funeral at the church. But I chose this because here we have two worlds that collide. The world of our senior citizens and the world of our children. Our seniors, we have 711,000 citizens in the state of Missouri over the age of 65. 600,000 of them receive Social Security. They are the heads of their households, and in most instances, Social Security is the only income in their household. Many of those senior citizens are caregivers to their grandchildren, and they're their own grandchildren, not foster children, but their own grandchildren. There are 91,000 grandparents in the state of Missouri who live with at least one or more of their grandchildren, and I'm one of those people. And there are 44,000 seniors who are the primary caregiver for those children. Of our 5.8 million people, we have 128,000 families that live below the poverty level. Half of those families are female head of household with no husband present. And 58,000 of that 65 are families who have children under the age of 18. Our families need their fathers, our families need their homes, and our state deserves stable families. 2 weeks ago, approximately, I had the opportunity to MC an event sponsored by Provident Counseling at the Prince Hall Family Support Center. And as some of my invited guests today, I had Mr. Chester Deans, who is one of the administrators of the Father Support Center. As I moderated that program, I had the opportunity to listen to some very heart-wrenching testimony about the problems and the obstacles to our fathers being able to care for their children. And these are fathers who have stepped up to say, I'm going to do the right thing. But our laws and our legislation are not necessarily in concert with their good thoughts and their good works. The motto of our state is, welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. And if that being the case, then there are a lot of things that have to happen to make the welfare of our people paramount in our minds. As a result of that, I have decided, along with those members of the Father Support Center, along with members from the prosecutor's office, along with our State Department of Family and Social Services, the Provident Counseling Group, to manufacture a package of legislation that will be aimed at examining how the rules and regulations work against our families and reestablishing laws that allow the prosecutors and the courts to administer fairly to the fathers who are trying to be the role model in the family. If we don't do this, then we are continuing to drive a wedge between the fathers and their families, and it stops the children from having a very good role model, and it stops the bonding that is necessary to stabilize our children. And we all say that children are the key to our future, and it's time for us to step up and make an attempt to give these families an opportunity to stabilize and be productive in our society. Along with that, Judge William Frawley received an award as a result of his establishment of the Heritage House. The Heritage House is designed to make families succeed in child visitation and in child support situations. And he's been a leader in this for now many years, and he's beginning to receive recognition for that. Judge Frawley or someone from his staff was invited today, but it's a very busy day evidently in the city of St. Louis, but he was not able to attend. But we're going to work with him to make sure that our legislation, along with House research, will actually target those issues, not just to lessen their impact, but to eliminate those that are actual barriers and stumbling blocks. There's an old proverb, and I won't call it an old proverb, and I have two members of the clergy here sitting in front of me, that says basically, where there is no counsel among the elders, the people fail. We are the elders, and we cannot allow our people to fail. It takes leaders to stand up and step up and say the things and do the work that has to be done to keep our community solid. That's another reason why I'm running for this office. I want to continue my work inside of this great state to make it all that it can be. As you look at my press package, you'll see many things about who I am and why I'm running and what I want to do. But these are things that I believe. They came right off the heart. It was not difficult to come up with what I wrote in those. What my team has put together in that package is because that's what I believe. St. Louis is home to myself, my family, my son who's here with me, my mother who's here with me, my grandchildren. The area was home to my grandparents. I love this city, good, bad, right, or wrong. we have things to do here, and I believe I'm going to get those things done. My platform is based on several things, and to some degree, it's a broad program, but these things are necessary to do the smaller things that we have to do. One of them is economic equity for the St. Louis area. We put in 47% of the state revenue comes from the St. Louis metropolitan region. 50% of the payroll in the state comes out of the metropolitan region. 36% of the population comes from this area. 47% of the wages and 41% of all employment. We are the engine for the state of Missouri. If there was not a St. Louis, there would not be a state of Missouri. We must wrap our arms around it. I also want to make sure that public education is available and viable and a class act for our citizens. Not only is it public education, it needs to be supported with public dollars. I'm a former classroom teacher, and I believe we have some teachers in the audience. We have to keep this available to our citizens. We are going to pay for it. Nonetheless, your tax dollars will be there. Let's make sure that we have a class act for the constituents, that they have choices. And being a teacher, I am not opposed at all to any type of quantifiable educational experience out there in the world, but public education should be supported by public dollars. The other thing that's very important to the St. Louis metropolitan area is all you know that most of our jobs are across the 270 corridor. So we have to move our people from downtown or the city areas, the city neighborhoods, to the 270 area. In the 5 years I've been in the House, I've been able to sit on appropriations, transportation, and economic development, and it's very important that we have a class system to move our people to where the jobs are and to move the goods and services to the people. We have a bridge that needs to be completed downtown. That's going to be a great economic engine for this area because where we have good, strong transportation, we also have economic growth. Where there's economic growth, then you have the opportunity for jobs, which is another part of my platform, job creation, and I like to say career creation. We can get a job, McDonald's, Walgreens, Pickett, but we need careers. We need careers that people can move through a company and not necessarily have to have a degree. The Isle of Capri is one where you can start at the Isle and become the president, and they've had that to happen. It's important for us to have these type of industries in the city, and we have to attract them because we have an educated workforce. Lastly, I would like to see affordable health care. In the 5 years that I have been inside the General Assembly, I have sponsored legislation that impacts women, children, and families. It's important to have a healthy workforce. As you know, many employers are asking you, are you drinking after work, or do you smoke, are you exercising? You know, they want to know what type of employee are they getting, but we certainly have to have health care there to keep our constituents strong, ready to work, and ready to make this particular city the power that it can be. Now, I'd like to thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce you to my team, and then I will open up for questions. We have Deborah Shern of Marketing Works as the campaign manager. I don't see her in the room at the moment. There you are. And with her, she has Brendan Denton in the back of the room and Linda Whitten. They are part of the team. We have Cheryl Dozier and Associates, and she may have greeted you at the door. We have Ben Phillips of Phillips Moss. Mr. Phillips is yet traveling from a holiday. We also have a couple of good volunteers. Mr. Hank Thompson, who's a longtime family friend, he goes back quite a way. Mr. John L. Whitfield and his wife, Ms. Georgia Bland. And I have a volunteer, Ms. Kara Jensen. I welcome you and thank you for coming in. And we also have Mr. Jim Ross, who is my basic foot, he's my basis for the fundraising that I'm going to do to make this a successful campaign. We have members of the Father Support Center here with us, and I certainly appreciate you coming and listening. We also have Mr. Roosevelt Stewart of the Postal Workers. And if I overlooked you, just charge it to my head and not my heart. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for supporting. We have a lot of work to do. And we have a year to go. This is a primary race. It will not be a general. We don't have that much Republican opposition in the city. And I've had Republican opposition across the 5 years, and that has not been an issue. But I look forward to success. I believe I'm the best candidate. I believe my voice covers the majority of what the people in the city of St. Louis want, and I intend to be successful with your support. Thank you. Now, any questions? Did I get a job?
Comment if I may.
Yes.
I think you've been most modest, and I guess I'm one of those loving and caring reporters, but I think that, and I've had the fortune of traveling around the state with you and have seen how effective you were in your various roles you've served in since you've been in the House. And like I said, I don't think that you've done yourself a great service because you've not talked about some of those key things and the experience that you've had and the leadership roles that you've had. Could you comment on some of that?
I certainly can. Since I went into the House in the spring of '02 in a special election, in the spring of '03 I found myself as the chair of the Democratic House Caucus. I've always been involved in the community, as I mentioned to you, but I always found myself in a leadership role, especially at Prince Hall. I think I mentioned there that when I first went on the Community Advisory Board, it was only just to help. I just always feel like I have to give back. I have to help those who need a hand up. And in doing so, and just voicing what I think could be, let's try this or let's try that, I find myself in leadership. That has happened inside of the community work, and it happened inside of the General Assembly. I stepped down from that particular role to really concentrate on this campaign, and it wasn't 10 days later that I found myself to be the interim chair of the Missouri Legislative Black Caucus. One of the things that I did when I first became the House Democratic Caucus chair was to organize a bus tour to the Boot Heel. Because our issues are very, very, very serious in the Boot Heel. That is our Appalachia, for lack of a better term. And it was important for the Democrats to have voice, to understand what happens in the Boot Heel, to meet the players in the Boot Heel. And we took legislators from across the state. We had a bus that started in Kansas City, and it came through Columbia, and it came to St. Louis, and we went for a 2.5-day trip through the Boot Heel. We had a meeting with DAOC, is one of the social service agencies in that area, and we met in 3 or 4 different cities. We had great turnout. This was in spring of 04. Spring of 03, I believe. And as a result of that, we were able to identify people to run for some of the state representative seats. One woman, Pat Allen, was on the school board in Dexter, I believe. She didn't win, but she put up a very good fight. So it was a good experience. I just believe that there's enough resources for everybody. This is America. We're told this is the land of milk and honey. Well, let's see it. We need to put the resources where they belong, because it's the people that makes this country. None of these corporations, none of these companies can be successful without good, strong workers, knowledgeable workers, healthy workers, dedicated workers. And when we go around the state, and I was hoping that we could continue to do that, and talk to the people where they live about their issues. For me, it's a no-brainer. It seems like that's the way it should be. And those are the types of things I've done in terms of leadership. And others you'll see in your press packet. But I don't do it with an air of I'm somebody. I do it with an air of let's go and see for ourselves what the issues are. So when we do form legislation, we're not hurting anybody. The desire should not be to hurt. We need to help. As the doctors say, first do no harm. Let's not harm our citizenry. It's important that they're strong and they're healthy. Yes, sir.
Big concern, I think, amongst African American voters has been expressed that 2 African Americans run for the office, the other candidate kind of walks down the middle. How will you address that? How will you make them understand this?
Okay.
Regardless.
In this scenario, I am the only female and 2 potential male candidates. Both of them are rather conservative Democrats. One of them has strong Republican leanings. I'm a 100% progressive candidate. My voting record reflects my district. I rarely have an issue when I vote what I vote because I feel it and believe it, and it seems to match with what my district says. The 63rd district that I currently represent sits in the very heart of the 5th senatorial district. And it's a big pie shape from the arch, and it spreads out north and south, and it goes to a point basically at the Botanical Garden. I don't have the brewery, I don't have St. Louis University, but I have Harris Stowe, I have all of downtown. As a result of that, I extend into North St. Louis and I extend into South St. Louis. And I have very strong relationships with those elected officials inside my district. For me, in this particular scenario, because of where my district sits, it'd be difficult for any candidate to bridge me and go south or bridge me and go north, because I reach both of those. And beside that, I'm a progressive running against male conservatives. And I think that that has a slightly different formula than the 4th senatorial district. And beside that as well, this is 2007, this is the 21st century. One of the biggest problems in the city of St. Louis, of course, is this racial oppression. At some point in time, we're going to have to say, this is a fight we want to have in North St. Louis. This is an in-house fight. Let us have this fight. We don't have to always sit down just because somebody's saber-rattling in South St. Louis. We've got to stand up to that and close ranks. And that's my challenge to anybody who says, I have every right to run. Rodney Hubbard has every right to run. Tom Villa has every right to run. But if it's not Tom or Rodney or myself, it could be other players. We're only looking at those of us in the General Assembly, but we're not the only ones who are available to run. We have very active neighborhood groups. We have very active aldermen. We have other players who have the ability to do this. So the fight, I could step down and someone will replace me in the morning, because the voice, this particular progressive voice, has to be in this race. It has to be a part of that. So I feel very strongly and I feel comfortable about it. And I feel victorious.
Father Support Center is honored to be here, Representative Wright Jones, soon to be senator. And I noticed you made a comment on the erosion of rights and entitlements. So, that piece right there speaks a lot to the new child support legislation. I just want to let you know we have information, and I also have men to support me to give you everything that you need to push that forward.
I appreciate that. And we will be, we're able to start filing bills on the 1st of December. Sooner they're filed, the more likely we're able to get a hearing and hopefully get it through the gauntlet and it tagged on to some legislation if it doesn't stand on its own. But we will sit down very soon and talk about that. And that will be with you. It will be with Judge Crawley's 22nd Circuit Court of the Family Court. It will be Provident. It will be with DFSS and House Research, so we can craft a bill that surgically goes in and makes a difference about these obstacles and these barriers.
Yes, because we want to embrace our children.
Absolutely. That is the focus. Yes, sir.
Ron, I know Missouri Progressive Vote tabulates how people vote in the General Assembly, and you have had 100% progressive voting record the last 2 times they tallied, and Bill and Hubbard have both been under 80, and I think Rodney was even under 60 this last time. But what are some specific bills where the votes were different, where you voted progressive as defined by pro vote, and Hubbard and or Villa voted the other way?
The progressive vote looks at the labor vote. It looks at the pro-choice vote. You will find a great disparity between the 3 of us on those issues. I'm pro-choice, and pro-choice means prevention. It means education. I am very strong labor. I have my handsome son standing over here who's a member of UAW Local 6, I believe. And beyond that, my mother, who's sitting in the back of the room, was a member of Local 420 when she taught in the public school system. So our unions are important to our stability. Those 2 major issues are really the ones that tag both of them, the pro-choice, the pro-labor. And I am 100% on that every time.
What about the school voucher legislation?
School voucher legislation, Representative Hubbard is a proponent, a very strong proponent of school voucher legislation. I am not. I am anti-school voucher legislation. I am pro-public school. Representative Villa has pro-voucher leanings. He tends to have his record is kind of spotty. It's back and forth depending on the individual issue, but generally he's leans more toward the vouchers than for public schools. Yes, sir.
Robin, there is a little over 32,000 unregistered, unmarried women in the city of St. Louis who deal with a lot of issues out here. How do you plan on reaching them and bringing them on board to help you get elected?
There was an initiative that the Black Caucus undertook, maybe three years or so ago, to go into the social service agencies that serve, for instance, Provident Counseling or the Prince Hall Family Support Center, where these women are being serviced for various reasons, whether they need child care, health care, or education, and talk to them about the advantages of being involved in our electoral system. And I will continue to do that. I think it's very important to meet our constituents where their need is, so that we understand what it is and we can get buy-in from them, that we can make a difference, but their vote is the thing that makes that happen, to vote in the people who are carrying their agenda. Yes.
I know the mayor approached Rodney when he was trying to court some attention from black elected officials, given the problem he's in these days with the black community. Has the mayor tried to get you to talk to him
No,
about his problems?
it has not.
Robert, I think that's very important, because there is rumor in the air, and we've heard it saying that that certain candidates are cutting deals with Slade now because of ridiculous that he finds himself in. And so I think that certainly needs to be said loud and clear that no deals we plan to have, whatever the case may be, as it relates especially to this situation.
Right. He hasn't asked me. I'm a very independent type person. Those of you who know me well know that to be true. I'm independent. When I was a young child, actually, I remember all of the conventions from the 50s, even the 60s, the 70s, and I remember Shirley Chisholm. She's unbought and unbossed. And I like to kind of fashion myself like that. I'm unbought and I'm very difficult to boss. That's my mom. Talk to my family and others who know me well. And I'm independent like that. I'm not one to run off with the crowd. I kind of like to stand back and analyze the situation for all its merits and all of its demerits, for lack of a better term, before I make a decision. And when I move, I stand. I won't waffle. I've had some of the lobbyists in Jeff City to tell me, and well, Representative, are you going to be with us on this vote? And I said, well, no, I'm not. And let me tell you why. And they can respect that, you know. I can stand on this. I'm going to run on who I am, and if that's palatable to the voters, I'll win. And if it's not palatable to the voters, I'll retreat to my home and read my books and play with my grandchildren and find myself something to do to keep me gainfully employed. But I'm going to be me all the way through this process. I won't waffle. I won't deal. I don't like to work like that, even though that's the business that I'm in. I'm just asking the Lord to bless me so I can move forward and make the right decisions for the bulk of the people, for the welfare, like the state motto says, and it's all over the Capitol. You know, the welfare of the people shall be the supreme law. That's a very serious statement, and I take my work in the Capitol very seriously. It's sensitive work. The things that we do have a far-reaching impact, as the fathers in this room will tell you, as our senior citizens will tell you, as our children will tell you. Those are our most vulnerable, and we're not protecting them. So I want to go and protect them.
I'd just like to say, too, you know, the fact that the 63rd District does sit in the middle of this very diverse senatorial district. I'm a resident of Lafayette Square, and I see more and more diversity every day in the form of Hispanics, perhaps more than ever, and although other folks from third world countries. I just think that given the other two, what might be called this time leading candidates, one from here, one from there, this is just it's almost a no-brainer. So I encourage everybody just get on this wagon and let's make this thing happen. It's the right thing to do.
She looked better than me.
You mentioned a very important point. The 63rd district is diverse socio-economically speaking because I have downtown, I have Fortune 500 companies, I have the RCGA, but I also have public housing. I have a burgeoning Bosnian and Asian population and a Hispanic population. And we're so busy, and that takes me back to, one white candidate could walk through the middle of two black candidates. We're still stuck on black and white. And the rest of this region is red, yellow, and brown.
Don't forget gay and lesbian.
Yeah, gay and lesbian, absolutely. The diversity of our population is profound, and we need to step up and embrace these needs, embrace these cultures, and form dialogue and legislation that brings everybody in. I'm also a believer that everybody has to be at the table when decisions are made. You cannot make a decision about me unless you have my voice there. You don't know my experiences. You don't know my walk in life. So you need to bring me to the table as you talk about how we're going to help, quote unquote, help me. We've got to kind of rid ourselves of that plantation mentality that I'm going to take care of you. I don't need you to take care of me. I need for you to let me take care of myself with some prudent resources available to me. And I think that's what we need to be doing in the legislature. We need to do it in the aldermanic chambers as well. Hearing no more, I certainly appreciate you coming, and thank you so much. And let's go.